Thank you so much for being here this morning. We made sure the sun is out and all the conditions are good. Yeah, Ben, we probably need to look for a new location in the next year. Thank you. We're a little bit cramped, but appreciate that. Wow, what a time. As this report was being put together, the amount of uncertainty in the world just grew a lot. Obviously, we work in tech space. I'm a leader that interacts with many leaders across the world, and the uncertainty right now is probably the most I've seen in my 20-year life. But I've obviously lived many more decades than that. So implications, I guess everyone is currently thinking about what implications, what can we look into the crystal ball, and can we make some decisions, investments? If there is a time in history where insights and customer insights are important, it's now, because any leading indicator of what is actually going to happen tomorrow is really valuable. Because guess what? We're not in BAU, we're not in steady state. I'm thinking I'm just about to go through a leasing process of our own company's headquarters in Sydney. And I'm thinking just between the 6 months that has taken, I actually don't want to sign a lease anymore. And that's what a lot of global leaders are thinking, going, long-term contracts are not going to work. We don't know what tomorrow holds. And that is absolutely great news for Flex, because the word itself is flexible. And boy, does every leader need flexibility now, because we don't know what the next 6 months are going to look like. So although there's uncertainty, Flex is in a bit of an advantage from my perspective, that leaders don't want to sign 5-year leases because we don't know the shape of our employee base. We don't know what AI is going to do. We don't know what's going to happen over the next month, even with oil prices and things like that. So flexibility is going to be the key. And guess what? The word flex is in your name itself. So I'm excited. This report we've put together, it's quite a significant report. It's about 95% confidence level, so a large sample. It is UK only, so we're not bringing our global data into this. So hopefully what we're going to bring to you today is some thought processes on what does churn look like? Can we stop it? Because we know the cost of acquiring a customer is getting harder and harder. And what other things, what other amenities or programs are customers looking for in order from their Flexspace providers? So this is based on users of Flex, the ones that use it today, occasionally, all the way up to 5 days. Now, like I said, the UK government, I mean, it's in the news. You have so many vertical implications. Even things like childcare subsidies that are being rolled out in the UK, because we also work in that sector, have implications on allowing people to go back to actual physical space work, because people can afford 3 days a week. You've got other things where employers are having to give rights to people to work from home. Not good news for the sector, but it's tricky. Globally, we see, depending on whether it's the government is more left or right, these rights are coming in. It's all undecided. And, they talk about supply and demand in this sector. So there is a lot of supply. There is demand as well, but it's not at equilibrium. So only the great providers that have the best product proposition, product market fit are going to really thrive. So game on, I guess that's what it's really about. So the current market, we always look at this, and this would also reflect in your own databases, right? In all of your usage. And we will share this report with you at the end, within a week, with the annotations and some of the summary I'm putting together. But feel free to take notes on those beautiful purple diaries. So I guess there are 3% of users that use it less than a month, once a month, but your majority of usage is 1 to 2 days a week, followed by 3 to 4 days a week. These are the majority of usage in Flex, people, and you would know this because this is not news to you. Then you've got about 10% of the market using it 5 days a week. And this is really interesting because as we get to a persona, are they more likely to churn? Are they more price sensitive? We'll take you through that. Then you've got a whole cohort of a market. So about 22% that is just very occasionally using it. Occasional users are about a third, and then active users are 2/3. So these occasional users are interesting, especially if you are trying to upgrade them into a more high usage private desk, private. So we're going to do a bit of a deep dive on that as well. So why do they use Flex? Because our go-to-markets have to meet these needs, or at least resonate with these needs. So 34%, and this is their perception on why they use it, not our perception. 34% says it helps them focus on work. Yes, I'm one of those people because I've got kids running around, I've got laundry. I don't want to look at any of that when I'm having to make big business decisions, right? So focus, people understand. We are in a time where we're not in the Great Depression or the Great COVID, but we are in this technical word that I use quite often, the Great Frazzle. It is an extremely frazzled moment. People have been asked to return to work. Interest rates are going up. Cost of living pressures. Governments are more unstable, and we have more geopolitical tension than we all have seen in our lifetime. The consumer is operating in that environment where they are extremely frazzled, having to change working patterns, having to deal with high inflation. All of these are converging into a lack of focus. So any go-to-market that highlights that we allow you to focus, we allow you to block out noise, we allow you to concentrate, is going to resonate, because the consumer is in a moment where everything is very hard for them. They are in very hard moment. So focus, and then professional setting, it's professional, they get energy from each other. You're going to hear more and more in different market reports, not just in this sector, where people are really looking for relationships, meeting other humans. With all the AI and tech and sitting at home and sitting in dark rooms and commuting, there is huge value in community. And this sector understands that, because Flex does the most community activation and investment out of anyone else. Team collaboration and just a change of environment. People said change of environment is really important. Again, it's coming back to an extremely frazzled consumer who's dealing with traffic, parking, traffic fines, lots of regulation. It's not a great time that people are having to deal with 3 or 4 market forces, and you're not immune to it. So what is this slide really about? The one thing I would really take from this slide is anything that says a fresh environment allows you to focus, gives you that professional setting, is going to resonate with the need of the Flex user. Now, we also ask them conversely, well, why don't you use it more? You say that it delivers professional this, gives you quiet space, takes away the noise. People are saying, oh, as my work demands, well, only when I need to do certain types of tasks. Okay, well, we can't change that. That's an external force. Too expensive, 17 or around 20%, a fifth say that it's too expensive, or perception of too expensive. And, you know, there's other workplaces they have. So as work demands is very tricky, because it means that there is something that they're doing outside of those 3 or 4 days they're coming in that we are not meeting that need. So what is it that they're doing that only sometimes they come in and sometimes they don't? Not enough privacy. And this one is going to come up a bit. So what do they use in Flex? So 27% of the market says they use the private office, dedicated desk, hot desks. These are the largest proportions of the market. And again, this is your market. This is not me, you know, telling you to look at it in that way. The one that's interesting to look at is the drop-in pass, day pass, and meeting rooms. Still a quarter of the market. Can we move them up? And I know that the providers that we work with, this is a journey. They come in and see a meeting. They go, oh, this is cool. This has got nice plants, really good vibe. Maybe I'll check in and see what a drop-in pass looks like. They're not going to go from a meeting room straight to a private office. Maybe there may be some people like that. But a good quarter of the market is dabbling with Flex or interacting with it or exposed to it in some way. And can we move them along? And we're going to jump into that persona a little bit, because there's a huge opportunity to increase lifetime value of that persona, because their value right now is very limited. Now, there is a fair amount of churn. This is not just affected by this sector. Humans are making consumers. We run retail reports, we run reports in other sectors. There is generally a fair amount of churn. People are chopping, changing, looking at their budgets, looking at their commutes, looking at their kids' education, looking at so many things. So there is churn. How much is there? So what is priority? What is making people churn? And what needs to be fixed? I'm just seeing if the pointer works. Pointer doesn't work on TV. So on the right-hand side here, we have factors that are very high priority for Flexspace users, but they're saying generally the provider they're with is doing a great job. So basically there's diminishing returns is what I would look at on that right-hand side. The more you invest in that, you're not going to get a lot of bang for buck because they're already quite satisfied. So they're satisfied with cleanliness, smooth entry, internet reliability. These were things we saw a few years ago where we were just learning to get the basics right. What is really important to them and we're not doing so well on, and this is not one particular provider we're talking about, this is just the market research, right? They're saying what's really important to us is ease of booking of desks and rooms, and it's not really high satisfaction right now as a whole. So it's a huge opportunity. If you invest in that space, you will be differentiated. So there is still returns to be had in here and staff support. Now, ease of booking. Remember, we are talking about a generation where ease is completely different. Sometimes we are so siloed in looking at our own sectors and comparing ease of booking from one flex provider to the next. However, remember the consumer is like buying on Amazon, going on Uber Eats, watching their pizza being baked with Domino's. Easy, easy, easy. Their world of ease and transparency. You can go to some dentists have invested in this. You can book, unbook, rebook, and no one wants to call anyone. It's, the Calendlies are working so smoothly. They're used to seeing Uber Eats being delivered and the guy, you can watch him, track him around London as he's picking up, cooking, baking. So the premium on ease is increasing. People are paying on a 10 quid burger, 10 quid delivery. Like that is 100% premium on ease, unheard of. So ease is something, wherever there's friction, if anything, we can't take ease too lightly because people are paying premiums on it right now. And these are not mega rich people we're talking about. People are paying on ease. So anything that is hard is going to cost you. It's really worth investing in. And the dial on ease, because of certain other sectors, keeps on moving. They're able to get returns on that. So this particular quadrant is high priority, needs improvement because it's important to the customer. That one, it's high priority, but we're doing a great job already. People are generally very highly satisfied by what's happening in the cleanliness. So current churn in the market. So 44% said, we asked in the last 12 months, did you change your flex provider? Did you try something else? 44% haven't switched. 22% have switched, and the rest, 34%, which is a large proportion of the market, are considering a switch, which is the one that we have to really worry about. That's a very high consideration number right now. Why? We asked. Well, you're considering. Why are you considering? Location. Okay, we get that traffic has become bad because people are returning to work and the trains are a bit iffy on any given day. That's a very Aussie word. I'm not sure if you use it. And then price value. Price value is very hard for any of us to move on without losing margin. Okay, so we can't just drop our prices. We're not in Disneyland. In fact, Disneyland, I was talking to someone, would never drop their prices. It just keeps going up. So price value, imagine we can't change that factor. The second biggest is lack of privacy and noisy. And as the sector has become aware, and we discussed this at the last report, our biggest competitor is the home, not the other flex provider. And guess how much privacy is available there? For most people, a lot. And noise, once the kids are at school, there's no noise. Meeting room availability, tech reliability. So those top three, we can't change location that easily, and we can't change price. But some of the other three we really need to be sensitive to, because 22% of the market is saying they're considering churning because of the noise. And that is something that the innovative flex providers will have to tackle, because it's a significant number. And this is where business cases come in on how can we invest a few dollars in reducing noise, in giving more private spaces, in driving meeting room availability. Also more or less talks about the same thing, that privacy issue, being able to take meetings, tech reliability. Fine, too crowded. Some of the other ones, I guess, but lack of privacy and noisy and meeting room availability actually can be brought together to a good 40% of people are not getting the viable private space that has the right noise levels and are considering to churn. And this is a really important, nice bar graphs, but that's the point I would take away from this slide. Now, you know, like we said, 28% are likely to switch and 37% might switch in the next 12 months. You know, there is a fair amount of switching, because guess what? Where we allow for the flexibility, we also you know, open ourselves up for churn. My lease, current lease that we have in Sydney at our headquarters, 5-year lease, haven't met the landlord till like 3 weeks before the renewal. Can't churn, good luck meter, like none of that's going to happen. Flexible, you guys, where you have the ability to gain market share overnight, you also can lose it. So this is a trick, but we wanted to ask the user, the consumer, a third are likely to, this is about the, not the last 12 months, but the next 12. So that churn number is still really high, in fact, getting higher. And 37% said they may consider switching. So there is good news in this, because it means you can grab market share. The market is not set in cement where everyone loves their office, loves going there every morning. Pretty much only 35% of the market is cemented in the provider they're with. The rest is up for grabs. And that's the exciting piece. If you are investing in experiences, in different technology, in different strategies, there is market share to be had, because the consumer saying they're not dead set. No, I'm not switching. That's it. I'm done. And so it's really also important to make sure we ask, well, are you talking to your Flexspace provider? Only 34% really give feedback. 23% gets to head office, and the rest is sitting on the on-site teams, and the rest just don't have any mechanism to actually provide. And in a rapidly switching market where their needs, and you know, let's not kid ourselves, the consumer knows how flexible the arrangement is. They want to be wined and dined. They want to be given the latest in everything, and so they understand and they want to be heard. Now, what is the one thing with your current provider that gets right, that makes you want to stay? We don't just want to talk about what makes you switch. Well, what are some of your retention plays? You know, reliable and essential operations. A lot of people who said they won't switch, they love the reliability of the office. It's smooth. It's, you know, booking meeting rooms. The cohort, this is on the cohort that said they won't switch. Booking rooms are really effortless and reliable. That's a big point of the market that is not wanting to switch, the 35% that is starting to be set in stone. So yes, we may invest in plans and fit out and things like that. They want meeting room reliability and no switching. Space quality, cleanliness, trust is also really important. So now we're going to get to acquisition and conversion. You have an extremely tricky acquisition journey. Google keeps taking more money. Facebook takes more money. ChatGPT is here to take more money. Then you've got these brokers in the middle. It's never happy days there. It's tricky because you don't know if they're loyal or they're showing 100 other things. It's a very tricky play. And then finally, you've got someone who walks in and you don't know if that tour, the tour they're doing or the viewing is going to plan, because you also can't control everything in the environment. There's other employees around, there's other users. So we actually deep dive a little bit into the users and ask them, what's working for you? Which one of you have taken these tours? What worked and what didn't? This is the sales process, really. So what is your search behavior? before you look for another office space. Still 50% of the market says Google. So we haven't yet fully moved to ChatGPT, and this is really freshly minted. So this is 2-week-old data. This is not last year's data. So it is coming up. GPT tools, provider websites, and online reviews. In this sector, online reviews are getting used a lot. Recommendations are getting, tech founders hang out together, entrepreneurs hang out together, salespeople that run country managers hang out together. It's 2 degrees, if not 1 degree of separation between some of these communities, and they want to actively pull their buddies into their environment. So, this is, provider websites are important. Google, we still have to spend on them. This is a pre-tour journey. And then they're also looking at recommendations. So then we asked, well, how many of you actually put in a search? That there is some consideration or some sort of wanting to see what else is out there. This is good and bad news. 60% or 58% of the market said they did look for the flex provider, another one, in the last 12 months, or they at least searched for something to see whether they're paying right. Is there something new and fancy around? And 42% said they didn't do any searching. So how many? So 66% said they also went for a viewing. So it's getting serious that those that searched, 2/3 of them went for a viewing, and half of them, once they went for a viewing, once they started dating someone else, 50%, almost 60% converted, because guess what? That's the honeymoon phase, that's the early phase. So once you get to that tour or that viewing, there is more than 1 in 2 chance that they actually start to like it, or they join that provider. Really interesting, because a lot of us are dabbling with how do we make that tour experience or that viewing better? Do we just show them around? Do we leave it? There's so many playbooks that some of our partners are running with. And so we're going to dig a bit deeper, because there's no point making these playbooks if there isn't enough of this happening. But the last few slides that I've been through, and we wanted to check that data, is there is intention to switch. There is intention to date a few others and see what's out there. There's intention to do these viewings, which means there is huge opportunity to grab market share. And we're going to jump into what, in the tours that they have done, what has worked and what's a bit meh, because we want to differentiate our viewings from the next provider. And that's really important. So what scored really highly on the people that took lots of tours? So it was people who took 1 to 3, some took even 4 in the last 12 months. Welcome and professionalism on arrival, tick, very satisfied. Understood our needs, tick. So that's really good. The sales discovery is going on well. You're asking questions. What do you need this for? Amazing. A lot of industries that doesn't happen. So you have a more sophisticated sales engine. Meeting rooms and AV were described really well. Great. What was needs a bit more clarity? Pricing, inclusions, and explanations. Remember, we are in a context of huge financial pressures on people. Whether you're running a company or personally you're a self-employed person, cash is not available. And so people are more triggered by not understanding pricing and inclusions. And so can we invest a little bit more in making this clearer, simpler, dumber, because people are frazzled and they're not willing to make any mistakes on this front. In COVID, post-COVID, when we released the report, the price sensitivity or cash sensitivity wasn't there. Right now it is. Great news. It's worth experimenting with how we communicate our inclusions. Does this help us gain more conversion or not? And what was the most frictionful? What left the most opportunity open? Follow-up after visit, they said it wasn't great. And ease of arranging the visit itself wasn't great. Now remember, these people are used to arranging everything very smoothly, easily, online, cancelling, resetting, cancelling, booking. So even ease of arranging the visit is going to put you ahead of the market. Now, those that did end up, we want to know which one of these factors actually created the conversion. Because it's all well and good that Meta gets up here and says, change your playbooks, do this, that, and oh my God, we shouldn't have come to breakfast. We got a whole lot of work to do. No, we wanted to dig a bit deeper and go, well, those of you that sealed the deal, what made you actually, what was that deciding factor? So 51% said space, quality, and comfort, like just the perception of this, right? We can't change our space, quality, or comfort. So actually talking staff professionalism and meeting rooms and reliable tech, those are the ones that said, giving me comfort on these three things made me convert. The ones that said that I did the tour and I actually said no, and this is really important to see, better explanations of plans and how we do bookings. So they were a bit jittery. We left them a little bit in the limbo, and so they didn't want to convert. That was the number one thing. More reassurance on privacy and noise cancellation. So likely they're coming from another provider because there's a lot of switching in the market right now. And then the third one is very similar to the first one, clearer pricing and inclusions. A lot of people have been burnt for printing costs and drinks costs and coffee costs and this cost. So they're looking for that surety of all inclusive because no one's budgets are flexible. Cash is just not available in the market, both in personal. So think about, there's some decisions to be made on, do we raise the price and make it all inclusive, or do we say not inclusive and lower the price? These are the decisions. We can't make it cheaper. That's just not possible because your prices are, also important. Now, this time we wanted to do a deep dive. We wanted to give everyone another deep dive on not just what we're seeing, but about loyalty programs. Because there is so much switching in the market, and so 70% of the market is not set in stone still, loyalty is a really important place. So we wanted to do a deep dive on, is it important for those that use Flex, and what type of loyalty program would work? Because we wanted to leave you with something to think about if you have one. So nearly 3 in 5 find loyalty very appealing in Flex. They're saying loyalty would be very, very appealing. So very appealing is 37% of the market, and 20% of the market is saying extremely appealing. I do a lot of market research. Extreme doesn't get used at 20% levels. You could extrapolate that loyalty would be really good to look at because people are like, this is really good. Give me something if I'm coming to you. So how do we bring stickiness into a flexible environment? Guess what? There's certain players in the market like the airlines, very flexible. I can go from Sydney to London in many airlines, but I'm locked in. I'm locked in with that loyalty. It's very hard for me to move. So really, consumers are not saying right now that use Flex, oh no, I don't really relate Flex to loyalty. They're saying, highly saying, actually, it's interesting. I would love to see what a loyalty program can do to me. So would they find it? They also dug a deeper, just saying, would you just find it good, or would it help you stay longer? Would it make you stay in this particular space rather than keep on switching all the time for the newest, latest, sexiest space? Huge factor, 25 and 41. If you add that, you're talking about 65, 68% of the market, 66 probably, saying that it would be a key factor to wanting me to stay in that space. So again, double validating the fact that it is worth looking at strategies that improve loyalty. And then we asked, well, what type of loyalty program do you want? 10 coffees that are free, or the 11th coffee you want a banana? What do you want? No. Free fruit. What do you want in this loyalty program? Because it has implications. So 47% of the market says reduced membership fees, some sort of discounting for my loyalty to you. Hey, guess what? We're heading back into long-term leases, and if I sign up for more, then you're going to give me more. So they understand that business and economics behind that, without losing complete flexibility and signing that lease. That's what I read from this, that I'll give you loyalty if you give me reduced fees. That's good old leases. They're looking for free meeting room hours, workspace, some sort of elite tier that allows me access to something that no one else has, or preferences, workspace credits. They're looking for referral rewards. 40% are looking for referral rewards, which means there's a whole lot of referral going on because they all know people that want to use Flex and they all hang out with those people. And then partner perks. They're looking for priority booking, member only access, that floor which they can only access, priority booking of meeting rooms. They want to know that they get first access to that meeting room. So these are all things we can play with. Obviously, things that shouldn't cost us margin, shouldn't upset everyone else and half of them empty out. But the game is to have that longer lifetime value of customer so that we are not in constant acquisition mode, constant customer acquisition mode and resettling. And it really plays to the community factor as well. You cannot build a community if there's new people all the time. So it has many implications, the retention, not just financial. What type of community are they looking for? I know a lot of us are investing in lots of community activations, networking and professional development events. Guess what is about to happen? We are seeing global job losses quite rapidly. Already a third say they want professional networking or some sort of, that's just about to become more valuable than ever. This type of professional networking, well-being, mental reset. We are in the great frazzle. If you unfrazzle them in any way in your setting, whether you're providing well-being of any sort, that is a true need, not because they want well-being, because they are dealing with higher interest rates, geopolitical tensions, return to work, job uncertainty. Everything is happening. So this is valued. This is not a gimmick. And, the other stuff we can share, food, hospitality, these types of things. But the two big ones are well-being and networking. Can you give me both of these? Now, those that have come to our events previously, we love to do behavioral segmenting, because it's very hard now to actually look at a person and say, you spend this much and you're of this demographic. It's very hard to target people because in the world globally now, it's very hard to know if someone's older, they spend less, or if they're younger, or if they're of a certain color. It's all meshing due to globalization. So behavioral segmentation is really important because behaviors are not consistent across demographics necessarily. So what are the key personas that use Flexspace, and why are their usage patterns different, and what are their needs? So we always jump into this. So there's, according to us, and a lot of cluster analysis, both on usage, type, behaviors, there are 4 key segments in Flexspace that are using it. We've just called it this. They don't know themselves as explorers. So if you talk to them as an explorer, they'll be like, huh? No. So the explorer, the occasional user, they're just exploring Flexspace. They only use it a few times a month. They're exploring. They're not sure. They're not convinced. Still a significant portion of the market, a fifth of the market. If you were to move 2 percentage points on that dial into your space, that's still significant. You can really grab this market, but we'll get into their needs a little bit different. Innovator, 1 to 2 days a week. Then you've got the wellness seeker. They're like a bit of home, a bit of office, 3 days a week, sometimes 4, but they've got this mix going on where they have something local they do and they're still using it. They're the they're about 31. So the 2 to 4 day users are majority. And then you've got these heavy users, which are, you're just their core office and they come 5 days a week. But that's only 10 to 12% of the market. So you've got the maximizer, the wellness seeker, the innovator, and the explorer. And we'll talk to these people. So why do they use Flex? Because if we understand the why, our go-to-markets, if they talk about this need, we magnetize this type of persona. If we magnetize the wrong type of persona. If we are looking for users that we want that come 5 days a week or 4 days a week, and our go-to markets are attracting the explorers, we're not going to get them. So the explorers like to work just when they need to focus. Occasionally they need a focused environment. Whereas the innovator, they love the productive spaces. So anything about productivity that we allow you to gain better productivity. Our spaces are ergonomic. They allow you to work faster. We've got screens. We've got fast internet. For wellness seeker, they want comfort. So we also want to talk about comfort in our environments. If we want to attract the 3 to 4 day user, we've got comfortable seats, sofas, talking about it in a more sophisticated manner than I am. We really look after comfort. The words around comfort are going to attract this person. Whereas routine, we support your routine. The maximizers are all about routine. We support your routine because everything is on site. It allows you to run through your routine. So that's really making frequent use, making routine the real cause. They all use Google as their primary source of finding you, so we can't get rid of Google. However, they look at the secondary source a bit differently. So the explorers just look at Google, look at your website. Everyone's had to redo their website hundreds of times over the last 10 years. No one wants to do that again. But it's important, but the website decision makers are mostly the explorers that lean in on the website more than other things. But the middle cohort use recommendations a lot more. They're pulling each other from each other's places, the 2 to 4 day users. This is really important to know because this is a majority of the market. And if we don't understand what our current recommendation is, then we're going to, after they've searched us, they're going to want to see some sort of recommendations. The maximizer, again, relies on the website a little bit more because they're looking at actual functionality more than anything else. So it's interesting. If you do all three, get your recommendations or reviews right, provide a website right, but if you skew to one of these, you're going to miss a segment of the market. So what was churn in the last 12 months? How many of these people churn? The highest churn is sitting in the people that use you more, which is counterintuitive. Usually you think those that use you more won't churn, but at the moment, because people are feeling the pinch, they're shopping around. Our hypothesis is to find where they want to be cemented. Because they use you more, the stakes are higher. If those meeting rooms don't work, if the noise doesn't work, if I come in once a month, so what? If I come in every day, that hurts me. So I'm going to churn. So actually, maximizers have churned the most, which basically means that there is a lot of unsuitable flex space in the market still. That is not meeting the noise, the meeting room, the comfort needs of those that are heavy users. There's still a lot of chopping and changing going on. And then wellness seekers and innovators a little bit less. So it's interesting to see those that use most, it's not a settled environment. They get that they need flex space, but the flex space they're using is just not suitable for their needs. So they're chopping and changing. Price, meeting room availability. For them, this is a big pain point. Why did they change? There's just not enough meeting room availability. The ones in the middle, lack of privacy and noisy. If we just leave price aside, because price is really hard to change for anyone. How many tours did people take? So the maximizer, again, not only did they churn, they're taking the most tours. They're making the most considered decision out of anyone else. Guess what? It's also good news. You are very important. No one's going to do 3 or 4 viewings if you're not important. So they're investing their own time. So grabbing this one is the hardest because you're grabbing them amongst 3 or 4 other choices. You're 1 in 4 because they would have done the most tours as well. The main detail, and we will share all these numbers for you to deep dive into, but the main detail is the heavy users of Flex, the ones that are going to stick it out through any recession, the ones that are going to stick it out through the 3 to 4 day, they are chopping and changing, and the market is still available for every one of us in the room to actually settle them down into. Again, we looked at the maximizer here, the really heavy user, which is likely to pay you a lot more and stick around and probably give. What drove the conversion? Space quality, comfort, meeting rooms, and what made them, not plans and bookings. How does it work? You didn't explain it to me. I'm frazzled. The plan you explained to me was 19% said better explanation of plans and how the whole booking system works and the credits and things like that. Because guess what? They're using you so much, they don't want to get it wrong. So if we're still converting after not getting the simplicity right, we may be converting the wrong persona or the one that is just exploring, or, every conversion is not equal. Intention to churn, we did a bit of a deep dive. Maximizer still has the largest intention to churn for the next 12 months. So that's interesting because that market, again, not only did they churn the most, they have the largest intention to churn. So again, up for grabs. You're going to see these tours come, or these viewings come from people that are paying the most and using you the most, and how I just talked about what's really important to them in the viewing is price explanation, simplicity, inclusions, and how to book those meeting rooms. Is it confusing and convoluted? They've been burnt. And then we did a deep dive again on loyalty programs. Who likes it the most? Well, guess what? The most loyal ones are clearly saying, give me something for the loyalty. Don't treat me like the explorer. I use you 5 days a week. 78% of maximizers, and then the wellness seeker as well, which uses you 3 to 4 days, are very wanting a loyalty program. Because the hypothesis is they're probably sitting with those that come in occasionally, that are just like the tech bros. Yeah, I'll come in once a month, I'll do this. And they're like, mate, this is my main office and I'm having to share this meeting room with you. I don't know, we didn't go into that deep dive. But maximizers, 80% of maximizers are saying, give me a loyalty program. Give me something back for me to maximize so we can both maximize. What do they prefer? Reduced membership fees and referral rewards. They're willing to bring other people to you, but give them something. This is really good news. If this was vice versa, where the maximizer didn't want loyalty, but the explorer wanted loyalty, means you would have rolled out a loyalty program where there's no upside, just cost. So the right side of the market actually wants loyalty. They're basically saying, let's meet halfway. I'll use you more. So there's real value here. With explorers, you can read into this. They're saying, I'm using it occasionally. I don't really understand the why, but I'm coming in every now and then. This is a hard segment. Increased relevance and repeat use. Something needs to want to make them return. So we don't know what's going to make them return. We've got to ask more questions with this cohort. Innovator, win in the active consideration, provide differentiated standards. They want a bit of differentiation. They want to know what you're doing differently from everyone else. They're the innovator. The balancer wants strength in day-to-day things, like make everything day-to-day easier for me, comfortable and reliable. Because guess what? The biggest competitor here is the home. These guys use the home 1 or 2 days a week. And then the maximizer says, give me strong everyday value. The maximizer is the one that wants more value extraction from you guys. So how do we do this? The cost case really is the maximizer reduces your cost of acquisition. Can we give some of that back so we don't have to keep acquiring these hundreds of people that come in 1 day a week? So something to look into. How are we doing for time? Oh, perfect. All right, so then we said, okay, well, since you're saying you want loyalty, you want better tours and services, you want different things, what is the ideal? What else would you like that is innovative, dreamlike? And so what are the trends that we are seeing? So 41% want better value for money. That's just the market. Everyone wants better value for money, but it also means that perception is that they are not getting the value that they thought they would get. So how do we drive better value perception without dropping price? Number 2, noise. Better noise control. People's threshold to noise in general over the last 5 years has come down. They spend more time at home, they spend more time less on public transport. They're more sensitive to noise. You're seeing shopping centers roll out noise-free hours. People are more sensitive. 32% said they would love more noise control. How we achieve this is really tough, but it's worth looking at. And reliability of meeting rooms. So they're not saying they want Disneyland, Ferris wheels, free beer, any of that, which is great. They want some of the fundamentals of noise cancellation, reliability of Wi-Fi, reliability of meeting rooms. So how do we do this? These are really tough problems to crack. Looking ahead, what are the priorities? What are the improvements that people want? Again, we also wanted to double check this with the sentiment, the free text, what are people saying, so we're not leading them down a garden path. Quietness is really important, and consistency of meeting rooms. Again, I'm like saying the same thing. Then we wanted to ask, well, if we were to give you more quietness and more availability of meeting rooms, would you pay a premium? How much of a need is this? Because if we can talk about pricing in this, we can start to see in the data whether if we go ahead and buy more pods or change the layouts or reduce workspace, most members said they would pay 10 to 15% more if these needs are met. So in traditional market research, this also tells us that is a true need. It's not just a wish. They are willing to dish out more money. How we bring loyalty, this need, and the right persona all together, they will move in tandem. But they're saying they want to pay a premium. Remember, there's a whole market out there that pays premium to Amazon, they pay Prime, they pay Uber Eats delivery fees. On a very cheap Chinese meal, they will pay Uber Eats delivery fees. People are used to paying premium now for ease. And this is a customer saying they are willing to pay. Only 11% said they wouldn't pay any premium for meeting rooms and noise and all of those needs. And by persona, the maximizer is willing to pay the most premium. 23% of maximizers would pay another 20% if you can give them that space. So how do we move them into a tier where it's a different experience? You have a big challenge. In the same space, you have explorers coming in every now and then. Then you have a product offering that allows 1 to 2 days. The whole remit of Flex is flexibility, but it's very tricky to, drive that need. So we do feel specialization will come into the market, just like any capital market. So it's coming. We also asked, well, not only are you willing to pay a premium, how far are you willing to travel if these needs are met? Because usually our total addressable market is, the whole thing about Flex is it's within a convenient place that you can jump into. So the sweet spot is a 16 up to a 30-minute commute. They're willing to move for a better noise cancellation, better meeting rooms, paying a premium. So beyond that, no, not willing to move. So these are, can we grab market share from others that are more conveniently located, but not providing some of the essentials that these people are dying for? I won't go into this, different 2x2s. We also wanted to see what is the current market NPS. So would they recommend their current provider to their colleagues? So the overall Flex user market NPS is plus 11. Great news for everyone here. The market is very grabbable. We also do our own benchmarking. We work with a lot of providers that are very customer experience focused, that are measuring everything, interactions, move-ins, different things. It's 69. So it's a tale of two cities. There is very ordinary run Flexspace. There's very well run Flexspace. but there's a large portion of the market that's quite ordinary, and our hypothesis is these won't be around because people are not recommending them. And then over here you start to see the maximizers are your biggest users, but they're also your biggest recommenders. They likely talk about you and bring the funnel in. And the innovators, and so this is chicken and egg. Those that like you more use you more, but those that use you more also like you more. So getting people into that second quadrant is really important through better experiences, meeting of needs. Doesn't mean we have to have expensive, gimmicky experiences, but what this data is showing, especially this year, is the basics are really hurting. The noise, the meeting rooms, and things like that. So there's a huge difference between those that are really focused on customer versus those that have just opened a nice fit out and got people into flexible arrangements. So we're going to see a lot of churn in the market, continue to see that, is our hypothesis. And I want to leave you with the best news, which is really good. We also asked the consumers or users that, are you likely to use more or less in the next 12 months? Are you bunkering down and not wanting to use anything, or are you going to use more? 17% said we're going to use even more. So they know they're going to have to work more collaboratively. Work is going to become really serious. We're going to have to, and so, at least about 40 to 50% of the market has said we're going to, in the next 12 months, increase our usage of office space in the flex environment. So that's great. It doesn't mean the market is shrinking. We're not in a shrinking mode. The one summary, the market is growing. People are going to use office space more, not less. People are chopping and changing. It is not in cement. It's moving as the winds, and they want the basics met. They're really like, I'm going to use this more, so the plants matter less and the meeting rooms matter more. This is really important to me. And a lot of them are doing tours. They're dating. They're looking. There's a huge level of consideration in the market right now. So in the last 12 months, more than half have done a tour of another provider. So thank you so much. I've gone through a lot of data, bombarded you with personas. It's a great space wherever there's so much growth, market growth, as well as customers telling us they need more things, and global uncertainty is obviously going to play into flex, because no one wants to look 5 years ahead right now in terms of investments. So very excited to be in the sector and sharing this insight. Thank you for making the time this morning.
Thank you very much, Mita, for those awesome insights. First time I've seen that as well. And we're really